with our random draw, Casey Lucius will be the first to do an opening statement for the candidacy for House of Representatives. Welcome, Casey. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. My name's Casey Lucius, running for the U.S. House of Representatives in the 20th District. I spent 7 years on active duty as a naval intelligence officer. I got a master's degree in national security affairs and a PhD in political science. I've spent the last 7 years teaching at the Naval Postgraduate School, teaching classes on U.S. foreign policy and national security. And I've spent the last 4 years serving on the Pacific Grove City Council, advocating for local businesses and a thriving economy. I look forward to this forum and to representing this county in the House of Representatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up for your 30-second opening statement, candidate Joe Williams.
Hi, I'm a resident of Santa Cruz. I'm currently employed by Dominican Hospital as a laboratory technician. I'm also a union steward at that facility for SEIU, United Healthcare Workers West, and I'm also a delegate to the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council. I'm also a longtime volunteer with the Resource Center for Nonviolence. I've been involved with them for about 15 years since I moved to Santa Cruz, and I've been involved in basically anti-militarism activities. We started off thinking the draft would come back, and that's what got my interest up to oppose that. And now we're doing opposing militarism. So check
Thank you,
literature
Joe.
up front. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next for your opening statement, 30 seconds, candidate Jack Digby.
Hi, I'm Jack Digby, and I'm running for the United States House of Representatives. I'm running for Congress because I want to represent you, because I want to go and fight for truth and justice. I want to make sure that our civil liberties are upheld and that they're not eroded any further. I want to make sure that every child in this nation and in this district has access to the best education so that we can be number one again. I work hard as a union iron worker. In fact, I worked a few years ago here at Hazel Hawkins Hospital. I built a lot of infrastructure. I know what those projects look like, and you want somebody like me spending your money.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to go into our questions. There will be a 2-minute response time for your questions, and we'll get a yellow light at 30 seconds on that one. Sorry, I was a little bit rough on that. So again, with our random draw, the first question will be for Jack Digby. We will read the question each time. Due to filming on CMAP, we thought it would be nice to have the question read to each candidate. So bear with us, it may seem a little repetitive, but for our viewers at home, we wanted to be sure that they knew what question was being answered. So question number 1 with a 2-minute response time for Jack Digby. What is your position on immigration reform, and does that include a guest worker program? Also, what constructive solutions do you see to resolve the challenges we are facing with our undocumented population?
Well, first off, we've got a lot of jobs here. And if you go to the high schools here and you ask kids graduating from high school if they want to go and pick garlic, do they want to pick strawberries, do they want to pick lettuce, they're going to tell you no. Those are good jobs. And there are a lot of good people coming here to do those jobs. Government needs to provide a pathway of legitimacy for those people so that they can have respect and dignity. As a union iron worker, I believe in respect and dignity for every single working person. Every time a field worker is taken advantage of, that's our fault. We're the people who allow that situation to exist. Every time people complain about illegal immigrants, that's kind of our fault. We need to come up with a visa program so that those people who are here to work in our farms can exist here legitimately. So they don't have to fear about, the things in King City where they're still in their cars, so that they can live with dignity and respect. I think that we need to allow them to come here and work and be protected and then go home. We shouldn't be giving residency to everybody. It's very expensive. Look at our educational system. The English language burden that we have on our educational system is a huge burden, and it brings down the quality of education in California for all. I think that the sanctuary city status is a bad idea. It's wrong to tell our police officers to only enforce some of the laws and not all the laws. When a police officer becomes a police officer, they swear to uphold the Constitution, and as your congresswoman, I will never ask them to do anything less. I just want to close in saying that every person who gets up and serves this country to put food on our table deserves respect and dignity. And it's time that Congress stood up and passed legislation to make a pathway for people to come here and get a good job, and also a pathway for those big farms to employ people that put food on our tables. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Next up will be Casey Lucius. What is your position on immigration reform, and does that include a guest worker program? Also, what constructive solutions do you see to resolve the challenges we are facing with our undocumented population?
Thank you. This is such an important question, and it's probably one of the most important questions in this district, because the agricultural industry is the #1 economic driver, and agriculture relies on immigrant labor. There is a buzz phrase right now called comprehensive immigration reform, and people talk about being in favor of comprehensive immigration reform. The problem is no one can agree on what comprehensive immigration reform includes or what it should include. The best way that I see moving forward and really achieving immigration reform is by reforming the visa process. And we should start with the H-2A visa process, because this is really what the guest worker program relies on. This is what agriculture relies on. Right now, it's very cumbersome for employers to apply for an H-2A visa. First of all, they're very expensive. They cost about $4,000 per employee, and many of our ag workers need over 700 H-2A visas. Nationwide, the ag industry needs 3.2 million H-2A visas, and the federal government issues 140,000. So the question about what do we do with our undocumented population, well, you have millions of people working in the ag industry, not because they want to work illegally or because the employers want to hire them illegally, but because the federal government does not have the capacity to issue 3.2 million H-2A visas. We need to streamline that process, which I believe should be under the Department of Labor, and we should really make this a labor issue rather than an immigration issue. We also need to reform the workforce housing requirement that goes with the H-2A visa, and possibly allow that to be a housing allowance, which then gives more flexibility to both the employers and the employees. And I think doing that, we can achieve immigration reform one step at a time, starting with improving the H-2A visa process.
Thank you, Casey. Next up will be Joe Williams. What is your position on immigration reform, and does that include a guest worker program? Also, what constructive solutions do you see to resolve the challenges we are facing with our undocumented population?
Thank you. Yes, we do need immigration reform. Any kind of pathway to citizenship that moves us forward to that goal, I would be in favor of. Obviously, the details are what's important, so I would need to see what's being proposed. In the meantime, what I want to see is no human being viewed as illegal. I want us to be viewed as citizens of the planet. So I don't like the status of you're an immigrant, you're undocumented, you're illegal. I want to erase that as much as possible, and will work as much as I can to erase those distinctions between people. So in the immediate reality, we have a group of people who are going to school. They're called Dreamers. They're undocumented students. The Resource Center for Nonviolence, I mentioned earlier. One of our facilities, rental facilities, was completely given over to the Dreamer students up at UCSC. Very rewarding, very supportive program to support these young people trying to better themselves. The other thing I view as positive is the recent announcement that Medi-Cal is now going to be extended for the children of undocumented folks here in the state. We do have the largest undocumented population in the country, so this needs to be dealt with. I'd like to do things like fix the overtime rule exceptions. If you're a farm worker, those rules don't apply. So there's a lot of union organizing that can happen with those folks, and then give them more of a stronger voice. I do like the sanctuary city ideas. I don't think the raids and separating children from their parents does us any good as a society, nor do I think it's moral or humane. So I want to stop those raids and stop the deportations. That's it. Let's keep families together. Let's rein in Homeland Security and the ICE raids and stop breaking up families. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We're going to move on to question number 2. Again, you will have a 2-minute response for question 2. First up for that question will be Joe Williams. How do you assure us that San Benito County will receive equal representation in relation to the larger and better funded counties in District 20?
Well, I suppose that'll just be that's the job of your congressional representative. So I don't know if I want to single out particulars, but I would love to have an office down here. I would love to have regular hours. I want you to bring me your concerns. So I would have an open door policy for what your concerns are down here. And I'd be willing to discuss whatever you have. In terms of funding, I mean, I guess it depends. If there's some federal funding coming down that gives Santa Cruz or Monterey County or Santa Clara County more funding, I think it should be shared equally depending on the parameters that are proposed. Specifically, I don't get down here too much, so just to let you know, I'm not quite sure exactly what your issues are in particular, although I know the immigration thing is a big one. Last time I was here, sitting in this very room, was 12 years ago when I ran against Sam Farr. Well, that was interesting because some of the same issues that I was dealing with 12 years ago are the same issues I'm dealing with now. In terms of why am I running again? Because I don't think that folks are being represented properly for the last 23 years. I think there's favored special interest groups. The Democrats have controlled this seat for forever, and given the, what would I call it, almost a voter revolt, if you will, in terms of establishment candidates, I think we're overdue for change. So if there's issues out there that you have not been given a fair hearing through your congressional office, you will have that hearing if I'm elected to the House of Representatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up with this question will be Jack Digby. How do you assure us that San Benito County will receive equal representation in relation to the larger and better funded counties of District 20?
Well, there's an old saying, you can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to show up. Tonight I'm showing up with these other candidates. So I guess some of the other candidates don't feel you guys are that important. You know, I have a lot of friends that live here in Hollister. As a union iron worker, we got all kinds of union guys living over here who work in the valley who I'm friends with. I've worked here in Hollister before. I worked, as I said, at Hazel Hawkins Hospital. When I first came to this area, I worked at Albertson's grocery store. I expanded the grocery store. I remember that the home prices in Hollister were jumping $10,000 a week for a little while there. It was insane. I enjoy Hollister. I like to come out here, ride motorcycles, farms. There's all kinds of friends I have out here. I'm familiar with rural issues. You know, Hollister is you know, a community that I come and spend time in. I've been to the Vault before. I'll definitely be here. Just like I'm here tonight, I will be here whenever you need me, and I will represent the people of Hollister to the fullest extent of my abilities. And I appreciate your vote on June 7th. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next candidate for this question will be Casey Lucius. How do you assure us that San Benito County will receive equal representation in relation to the larger and better funded counties in District 20?
One of the interesting things that I have realized in the course of this campaign is that while each of the counties in this district, and there are 4 counties in the district, each are unique in their own ways, but the issues across the board are all the same. You hear the same issues in every county, which are we need investments in our roads and in our transportation infrastructure. We need investments in affordable housing. We need investments in education. We need new water sources and water storage. Those are the issues. And the other one I would say that is a common theme across the board is that governments are just being crushed by regulations, and it is really hampering job growth, job creation, and having a thriving economy. Those are the issues in San Benito County, Monterey County, Santa Clara, and Santa Cruz County. I think the important thing is to not see San Benito as any different, regardless of population, regardless of voter demographics, but to realize that we are all one district, and I want to represent this entire district, and I will represent San Benito County just as I would represent Monterey, Santa Cruz, or Santa Clara County. And lastly, I will state there is a great opportunity to draw people to San Benito County through the Pinnacles. And I think one of the things that we can do is invest in an entrance to the Pinnacles here on the San Benito County side. I think that's important because you could draw a lot of tourism and really create kind of an ecotourism industry here in San Benito County. It will take some creative thinking and it will take some investment, of course, by the state and federal government, but I think we can do that, and that's something I'd like to work on. Thank you.
Thank you. That will be the end of our questions. We'll now have an opportunity for a 2-minute closing statement for each of you. And Joe Williams, you will be first for your closing statement.
It's going to sound real similar to my opening statement.
Did I skip? Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. That was my mistake.
Nope.
Casey Lucius,
Oh.
I'm sorry. You are first on your
Go ahead.
closing statement. Thank you. I'm sorry.
No problem. Well, thank you again, all of you, for coming out on this Thursday evening and joining us and listening to us, and thank you to the two hosts of the forum. I want to close by saying this is a very exciting and important election. As Joe mentioned, for 40 years, this seat has been dominated by two people. And for 40 years, all of those issues that I just raised have not been resolved. We haven't had new water sources. We haven't had investments in education or in our roads or in housing. And over 40 years, we've had more and more regulations that are hampering job growth. It really is time for change. And this seat has not been open for 23 years. We have not had a competitive election for 23 years. So it is exciting that there are 5 candidates in this race. And I hope that each of you will really look at all 5 candidates. Don't just go based on party registration or someone who has a famous last name. Really look at the candidates and where we stand on the issues, because what we don't want to happen is we don't want to go another 20 years without having a competitive race. This is essentially important. And I will also tell you, there has never been a woman to represent this district, so I'm proud to be running as a woman and as a veteran and as a mother. And I will also say there is a women's caucus in the House of Representatives, and although women only make up 19% of the members of the House of Representatives, they pass 60% of the legislation. So sometimes people think nothing gets done in Washington, everything is partisan. Well, this is a bipartisan caucus, and things are getting done, and they're being done by women. And I hope you will remember that when you go to the polls. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. Next for your 2-minute closing statement, Joe Williams.
Thank you. Again, thanks for coming out. Appreciate the civic involvement. It seems to be rare, too rare nowadays. Just talk a little bit about why I'm in the race, to get a better idea. I watched with interest kind of the scramble to see who would run, and I was waiting for other Democrats to jump in the race. There was a lot of bandying about different names, Alejo, Monning, Laird, Stone. Okay, are they going to step up? This is an open primary, the first one in an open seat, 23 years. Is anybody going to challenge a man who's never held elected office? I waited and waited. Everybody backed out. The Panetta name scared everybody away. So I crowdfunded it. I said, if people want me on the ballot, give me the money. And lo and behold, they called my bluff. And so I'm sitting up here as a candidate completely crowdfunded by the people because they wanted some other alternatives in the race. If Monning was in the race or another Democrats I respect, I wouldn't be sitting up here. I wouldn't even put my name in the hat. I found it completely maddening that there were no other Democrats challenging Panetta. So I hope to fill that role. And what I'd like to also put in I guess a shout, since we're talking Democrats, or I'm talking Democrats, for Bernie Sanders for president. I'm happy to have been vetted and endorsed by the Berniecrats. It's berniecrats.net. You can check that out. Sanders Democrats, I'm endorsed by them, and I just recently got the endorsement of the Bernie Thinkers. They just vetted me and finished that process 2 days ago. So if you like Bernie Sanders, you're going to love me. And the other thing to consider is this is a top 2 primary. The top 2 advance to November. Jimmy Panetta does not need your vote in June. He's probably going to get your vote in November, but put somebody who will challenge him on the issues this June. Vote Joe Williams for Congress. Thank you.
Thank you. For your 2-minute closing statement, Jack Digby.
As an iron worker, my life is hard. My job is hard. But I get up every day and I build this great nation. I've learned how to work hard every day. I've learned how to work with a diverse group of people. I've learned how to work with people from every country, people who've just gotten out of prison, men and women. I've learned how to work with everyone to build a better nation. As an iron worker, I became active in the political process. I started working for all kinds of politicians, Gray Davis, Gavin Newsom, and I started to work for the Democrats and see what they were doing. And then I went and worked for the Republicans a little bit to see what they were doing because I had interests on both sides. I wanted to see the political process. And what I found was there's so much fighting and so little service to the people. It's so hard for these politicians to get elected year after year when you need to raise $500,000. You got to get that money from corporations. I know blue-collar people certainly don't have that kind of money to pass out to politicians. I'm not running for this office because of any deficit or flaw of character in any of the fine candidates running. I'm running because I want to be your congressman, because I want to go to Washington, D.C. and fight for you. That's why I'm here, not because of anybody else. I just want the job, and it's a job that I will work hard at every day for you. I will work hard for your children to make sure that they get a better community than we came across. In my work, I've been awarded 2 commendations for heroism, the highest award given to working people by the AFL-CIO, the True Heroes Award for saving life, and a Medal of Valor from the San Jose Fire Department. I had a chance to go to Harvard Law School, and I attended Harvard Law School for a semester and graduated from the Harvard Trade Union program. That's where I got to see how the big banks and all the politicians are stealing our future. They're milking this country to death every day, and unless we get in there and stop both Democrats and Republicans, there won't be much left. If you look at programs like the Trans-Pacific Partnership, where they're just shipping jobs overseas and handing everything out to the pharmaceutical companies, you're not the person they're looking out for. Their pockets are the person they're looking out for. They're looking for that next campaign donation. You're not going to get that from me.
Thank you, Jack. That's all we have for you this evening. Thank you all so much for being here with us. Please join us if you are able to stay at the vault after the event for a reception and a chance to visit with some of our audience members.
Thank you.